observe one or two things, and I want us to start the debrief section like this, so that after this time strategy section, which is a powerful way of understanding how to attend AAA exam, the AAA exam paper, it's very important that we understand time management technique, and your technique will really go a long way to help you to attack the AAA exams. Now, the strategy is, somebody said something about an axe, that if you use 99% of the time to sharpen the axe, the 1 minute or 1% remaining to bring down the tree will be easier. So if we sharpen our strategy, it will be very easy to sail the exam. But then without a strategy, it will be hard and tough. And that's why most receipts come in the AAA exams. Why? Because time management strategies and some other keys are out of place. So please take note of this strategy. I've shared the slide. After the class also, I'll go through it. In fact, I was spurred to do a video on this, a series of video on this time strategy. But I'm going to combine all of them in this class so that we can understand it. I'll also do maybe separate recordings and post it on YouTube to help students understand how to manage time in the AAA exams. AAA can be very challenging. As a matter of fact, the ACCA AAA is much more challenging than that of ICAN, because the pass rate is one of the lowest in the strategic professional paper stage exams. So please take note and pay attention, rapt attention, as I take this time management strategy area before we go into the exam. So we must understand that it's crucial, if you must succeed in the ICAN AAA paper, that candidates need to balance answers with speed and accuracy. So you need to balance speed, your writing, and communicating your thoughts, and how accurate you're able to analyze critically what you are asked is very important. So speed and accuracy is key, because the time is short. You have 3 hours for the paper. So I've structured an exam technique for you that you can use. So check it out. So there's number 1, your time allocation strategy. Time allocation strategy. Like I said, it's a 3-hour paper with a total mark of 100. So you have 100% to earn. Now, the best way to manage your time is to allocate 1.8 minutes per mark. What do I mean? 180 minutes is a 3-hour paper. So 3 hours in minutes is 180. If you divide it by 100 marks, now per mark, you have 1.8 minutes. Take note. So every minute you spend in the exams earns you 1 mark. So 1.8 minutes is equivalent to 1 mark. So have this at the back of your mind as you write the exam. It will make you time conscious and spur you during mock exams to write with that consciousness. So this time allocation strategy is very important, and please take note of it. Very, very important. Okay, so there's a table here I've prepared. The exam has 7 questions with options of 5. So all total 5 questions earns you 100 marks. So what do you do? So what you do is ensure that that 5 question is divided into 180 minutes. And you don't do this on the exam day. You do it during your mock exams. And I'm bringing it to your attention now to be able to strategize. Now, when a war is being fought, if you look at most of the prominent wars that are fought, First World War, Second War, every prevalent or successful army spend time on strategy, and the time for the war can be very short. If you look at a football match, somebody is training for months for a 90 minutes match. So this period we are using to strategize for a 3-hour exam. And now it depends on your strategy to be able to ace that 3-hour exam. If you calculate the number of months, a lot of you started since January, some February. The preparation has started since January for just a 3-hour exam. Now, your strategy has to be in place. You cannot waste this long time reading aimlessly. So take note of this time ideal strategy. Now allocate for the first compulsory case study 54 minutes, less than an hour. 54 minutes, less than an hour. Then after doing that, for the two options, allocate 36 minutes each. 36 minutes each. Then for the 15 mark question, allocate 27 minutes each. So 54 plus 36 times 2 plus 27 times 2 approximately gives you 180 minutes. So if you apportion this time based on the weight of these marks, knowing that each minute has 1.8 minute per mark, you'll be very conscious to communicate your thoughts in a succinct, concise, and a very precise manner. This is very important. So take note of this table as we go ahead. The second thing is your practical answering approach. So after looking at the time allocation, please interject if you have any question. It's not a lecture or a sermon. It's an interaction. So please interject if you have any issue with or any question or observation with any of the strategies. So I'm moving to number 2, the practical answering approach. So how do you answer a typical AAA 5-question 3-hour exams? Practical answering approach. So there is an acronym. I love using acronyms, and it's called PEAL. P-E-E-L. Technique for structuring answers. So you have 5 questions to answer. So the first point is point. Identify the key issue. So every question has an issue or requirement in that question. So what is the key issue? So you must first identify the key issue. Take note of that. So point out what is the issue with this question. Every question has an issue. Number 2, explain the point. Explain the issue to yourself as you are reading. And the explanation has to do with expanding the point with relevant knowledge before you start writing. So have this at the back of your mind. When you identify the issue, you expand the issue. Expanding it means explaining it in your mind, visualizing it. Then the third point is you visualize an example that practically applies. Use case-specific or real-world examples where applicable. Number 4, link it. So relate back to the scenario in the question and conclude logically. So this is a structured approach to answer. So number 1, point, identify what's the issue. 2, explain that issue. 3, an example that resonates or applies practically with that issue. Then link it, relate back. So conclude and wrap up what you are doing. So with this PEAL approach, you'll be able to answer a question structurally. Structure your answer based on these 4 points. This is very important. Now, based on this PEAL, you have question 1, which is a case study. So the first thing you do is spend 4 to 5 minutes dissecting and reading, analyzing the scenario. So 4 to 5 minutes out of your 54 minutes for case study, take 5 minutes to read. Don't rush. 4 to 5 minutes, you are reading, you are marking down, taking note of the important points, phrases, keywords in that question. 4 to 5 minutes, you do that. Don't write anything, don't answer. Spend the first 4 to 5 minutes reading and analyzing the scenario. This is very important. Identify the key requirements, like you are pointing the point. The first P, identify the requirement and structure your answer into parts. So what is the requirement in the case study question? Then you structure your answer into parts. Very important. Then allocate time based on sub-marking. So some questions we have A, B, C, D, and the marks are there. So it's 30 marks. They tell you what A has, the weight of A, the weight of B, the weight of C, the weight. So allocate time, 1.8 minutes per mark. Allocate time to that. How many minutes? And stick to it. Please be disciplined to stick to it. And you can only practice during mocks. Nobody is supervising you during the mock. I'm not there. It's not a physical class. So do that in a disciplined manner. We are not testing who scores the highest in the mock. No, we are helping to fine tune and sharpen your skills. So we do that under a time conditioned, simulated, and disciplined environment. Allocate time based on the sub-marking, very important. Also, if the question has different parts, I've stated that divide the 54 minutes appropriately with those separate parts. If there are 5 parts, if there are 4 parts, divide the minutes, that 54 minutes appropriately. Then keep your answers structured. This is very important. A lot of people write vague, long stories. No, you're not writing stories. You're not writing case study. You're writing AAA. So keep your answers structured with headings, bullet points, and concise statements. Keep it very structured, not too much notes. If you bore the examiner, if he's reading too much lengthy detail. Therefore, question 2, you're supposed to choose 2 out of 3, and it's 20 marks each. So allocate 36 minutes per question. So for the 2 questions you are choosing, make sure you allocate 36 minutes each to those school questions and stick to it. And like I said again, it can only be practicable under the mock. So we're having more mocks. The first one is what we are talking about today. We'll have maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. Please engage. It's for your good. It's engage. Engage in it. It will help you to ace AAA very easily. So for the question 2, 3, and 4, write concisely but well-explained answer. So no matter how concise you are, let your explanation resonate with the examiner. You can't write for an 8-mark question, you just write 3 lines. No, that's not explanatory enough. So an 8-mark question should at least carry 8 lines. So take note of that. We'll be looking at that as we look at mock exam 1. If the question is in multiple parts, divide the time. Yeah, so that 36 minutes, the parts in the question, if they're up to A, B, C, D, E, F, divide it. And you do that as you practice in the mock. So question 2 mostly, not always, comes in form of audit standards and relevant audit risks where applicable. So please use them, use the standards you know and the ones you've read. We are still going through the lectures anyway. So currently we are looking at the regulatory framework and professional standards. So the lectures are on, and we'll bring this understanding practically from the study text as we're looking at that. So use these standards and the audit risks where applicable. And the next one is the last part, which is question 5, 6, 7, which you're supposed to choose 2, 15 marks each. So you're to allocate 27 minutes marks for this set of questions. You're supposed to choose 2 out of 3. Then prioritize short but impactful responses. Short in the sense that they are short, but they have the content and the facts. And that's what it means by impactful responses. Very important. Avoid unnecessary explanations in this part. Make them direct, precise. That means they are to the point, because they score or the answer, they provide better, they score better. This answer score better, where you avoid unnecessary jargon here. Your explanations should be direct. You attract more marks. This is very important. So starting each question on a fresh page is also very important in your practical answering approach. So I saw some of us, we just write number 1 and the next 2 lines, you continue number 2. No, you may not be penalized, but you are not neat. So take note. If you write question 1, first page, second page, third page, depending on the volume of pages you use, start question 2 or the next question on a fresh page. It enhances your neatness of your paper, your exam paper, and it has a positive impact on the examiner's perception. The examiner has a particular perception about that paper he's marking. You'll be like, no, this guy is structured, the person is organized. And here is some reasons. Number 1, it improves readability. So this is how you attract the examiner's attention. You improve the readability of your paper. When each question starts on a new page, it prevents answers from being cramped or overlapping or merged, jumbled up together. So there's an imprint on the mind of the examiner, and what you're trying to do is to impress the examiner. So you imprint on his heart that this guy is structured. So first impression matters. And it makes it easier for the examiner to read and follow your line of thought. So clear and well-organized answers are more likely to be understood and appreciated. So start your question or your each question on another page. Very important. Another reason is it enhances structure. Starting on the first page encourages candidates to think of each question as a separate unit. So question 1 is different, question 2 is different. If you jumble them after writing one, you continue on that another one. The third one, you continue on another one. It looks shabby, as if there's just one unit question. So making them on different pages shows that your line of thought or communicating your thoughts is in different units. Each question has a different approach and a different way, or on different pages. Very important. And it can lead to a more structured and well-organized answer, as candidates are less likely to run their responses into each other. So if number 1 is on the page, and down you just finish, you continue number 2. And maybe the examiner didn't see the numbering of number 2. He just assumed is a continuation of number 1 and is wondering, why is the content different? So that mitigates the risk of getting you marked down or confuse the examiner by saying number 2 is on a fresh page. So make sure you take note of these points. Number 3, another reason is reduce risk of missed answers. When answers are spread across pages, there's a risk that the examiner might inadvertently miss a part of your response. And that's true. So to avoid the risk of mixing up your answers, start each question on another page. It saves you a lot and gets the examiner impressed to some extent. Also, starting each question on a new page eliminates the risk, like we spoke about, ensuring that the examiner sees and evaluates the candidate's complete answer. So completeness, like I spoke about, I said, if number 1 is jumbled with number 2, he may not know the difference and mismark you. So to ensure you are completely marked based on each unit, question 1, question 2, please start it on a fresh page. Another point is professional impression. When you start it on a new page or start each question on a new page, a neat and well-presented exam paper creates a positive impression on the examiner. Exactly. So if you want to read the mind of the marker and impress him, please do that. That professional impression matters. It signals that the candidate is organized, takes the exam seriously, and respects the examiner's time. Exactly. This can contribute to a more favorable overall assessment for you. So some people don't fail maybe because of the content. The examiner is not just comfortable with your line of structure, and he may not read it like, this guy is rough. This candidate is rough, and may dampen or reduce your chances of passing. So doing this would help impress the examiner. Yeah, so professional impression is important. So also take note that however important and neat, take note that will not guarantee high marks. The content of your answer is still the most crucial factor. Exactly. That's part of it. But your content is the most important thing. The facts earns you the marks. A beautifully presented answer that lacks substance will not score well, and that is true. It's very important to take note of that. So here are some additional tips for candidates to enhance the neatness and professionalism of their exam paper. So having started on the fresh page, you structured your answers well, it's fine. You need to use clear and legible handwriting. One of the challenges with on-screen marking, your exams are on-screen marking, they are not computer-based, is the handwriting of some people. Avoid writing in a very rushy manner so that somebody can read your thoughts. Under exam conditions, some people's handwriting can be very horrible. So avoid writing in a rush and sloppy manner so that examiners can read your thoughts in print. This is very important. If your handwriting is difficult to read, consider printing. What is printing? I read some people's script during mock exams and it's horrible. I'm sorry to use that word. I can't really decipher what they are writing. Can't put the words together. So printing is during mock exams or practice, you take your time to write, not fast. That's what printing is. You are writing so that you can improve. You can't print during exam. There's no time for that. You will fail the exam. So you only print during practice. So practice, if one of the feedbacks of your mock exam is your handwriting is not good, please practice writing better. I had a friend that wrote case study 5 times before passing. He wrote case study exam 5 times. And one of my feedbacks when he was complaining that he's tired of this paper, when I read one of his scripts, I was like, man, your handwriting is horrible. I can't even know that. What is this? Is this THE or HTE? What did you write? So your thoughts can be, you can understand it, but you need to help the examiner also understand what you are writing. So please work on your handwriting. If you know it's bad and you get a feedback from anybody reading it that is bad, please ensure that you print. And that is practicing writing clearly, space your letters. And as you improve on it during mocks and question answer and practice, you notice you improve. It becomes better. Use proper spacing. Leave adequate space between lines. Don't jumble all the words together. Maybe you're writing D or daring or there is. You jumble there and is together. It's difficult to. So make sure your lines, paragraphs, make sure it's easier to read. That's what we are saying. When you write, you read, and only practice and mocks and the question and answer practice can help you improve on this. Also use headers and subheaders. Exactly. So one of the good way of answering is to use headers. So there's a header and there are subheaders to tell the examiner, okay, this is what the main point is, and these are the explanations, and make them clearly. It helps organize your thoughts and makes them easier to follow. So you are telling a story, let there be a header, let there be a subheader, and it helps communicate to the examiner very easily, and it makes it easy to follow through your line of thought. Use bullet points and numbering. So A1, Roman numeral, alphabets. It breaks down complex information into small and manageable chunks, and you get your marks easily. So don't just write straight down stories without stratifying them and classifying them into readable chunks. So bullet points help you do that, numbering them. This is 1 point, this is 1. It helps give you your marks easy. Very important. So take note, 1.8 minute is for 1 mark, and you need to score 100 marks. So as you allocate minutes to those questions, those bullet points will help you pick the marks as you communicate them to the examiner very seamlessly. So take note of that. Also avoid crossing out or erasing excessively. So maybe you made a mistake in communication of your thoughts in writing. You want to cross out, please make it 1 line. Don't scramble your paper very, very unneatly. Make it neat. Scramble just 1 line. Okay, this is not what I want to communicate. 1 line, the examiner understand this point is not part of it. If you need to make a correct or a correction, draw a single line through the incorrect word or phrase or sentence and write the correct one next to it. So don't paint or try to clear out what you wrote. You may end up spoiling your paper and making your work look unneat, unkept. Very important. Keep your answer sheet clean. Yeah, keep your answer sheet clean. It also avoid unnecessary marks or doodles on your answer sheet. Where you are not writing I or any dot. You are saying dot everywhere. It makes your answer sheet looks very unkept. Don't forget, it's not a computer-based exam. You know, it's a handwritten exam. So keep your answer sheet neat. And the person marking is not getting your physical script. It's on-screen marking. They scan it and send to them. So let your answer communicate and look plain to the examiner when he's reading it on the screen to mark. Just like you scan the mock to me, for those that are engaged, I'll be marking it on screen. That is how the actual exam paper is marked on screen. So please keep your answer sheet neat. It's very important. So in conclusion, on the practical answering approach. Starting each question on a fresh page can contribute to a neater and more professional exam paper. Exactly. While it's not a guarantee for high marks, for sure, it can certainly help to make a positive impression. Yes. And most examiners, once they are impressed at first sight, it gives them a favorable disposition towards your paper or your assessment, and ensure that your answers are read and well understood. This is very, very important. So ultimately, the best approach is to focus on providing well-structured, insightful, and accurate answer. So that should be the ultimate aim and goal, while also taking steps to ensure your exam paper is neat, legible, and easy to follow. This content, what is important is your content. Content, what you submit as your facts, that is very important. Okay, so if you don't have any question on this practical answering approach, I'll move to time-saving techniques. How do you save time? Most of the time is challenging to manage. That 3 hours is a bit too small in communicating your thoughts, performing critical analysis, and thinking. How do you manage your time? Number one, read the questions. Read the questions first. Read all the 7 questions. So skim through them in the first 5 minutes. Read all of them. Don't start writing. Number one is, it's easy. It's what I know. It's what I read. You start writing on. Read all of them and identify which options you are strongest in. So note them. So out of the 7, which ones are you disposed to? Which ones do you have strength? What's your SWOT? So you do your SWOT. Out of the 7, which ones are you strongest in out of the 7? So mark the 5. So after reading, mark the 5. Number 2, answer in order of strength. So it is encouraged to start with number 1 first, because you are still fresh, your thoughts, your brain is fresh. So tackle the question 1 first if you can. Then tackle 20 marks question because of the weight, followed by the 15 marks. So that's not a hard and fast rule. Please answer your easiest question first. So if a 15-mark question is the one that is fresh in your mind and you can pick the 15 marks, please answer it first. Don't say because the case study came first and maybe you don't have much idea on the case study and you see number 6, man, you can just put down the answer. Please answer the easiest question first within each category to build confidence. So when you build the confidence, you've given that question that you have advantage. I wanted to say competitive advantage, but answering advantage. Let me say answering advantage. You can now move to either the case study or any other part of the question because it builds your confidence to write. So if you start with question 1 and you don't really have advantage there, you're not much, maybe some parts you know, some you don't know, you can provide a wrong impression because that's the first place the examiner is seeing in marking your paper. So in essence, what am I saying? Answer your easiest question first. Be it number 5, be it number 6, it doesn't matter. Answer it first to build that confidence. Number 3, keep your answer structured and professional. We've talked about that, the bullet points for key issues, and make your paragraphs short. 3 to 4 sentences maximum, not long stories. 3 to 4 sentences, you move to another paragraph. 3 to 4 sentences, move to another paragraph, like that. Use headings and subheadings. We've spoken about that in the previous slides. Number 4, watch the clock. If you use a wristwatch, I know they don't allow wristwatches. There's a clock, so watch the clock. 54 minutes, so look at the clock and start. Look up again, 50 more minutes is over. Mark out the time to move to the next question. So if you've exhausted 54 minutes, even if you've not finished, please move. There are some questions that you have resident or remaining marks. You can come back to that other question, leave space to continue. That's another advantage of starting on another page. So the space you left, you can just come and continue if you have remaining time. So please, if you've exhausted 54, you've exhausted 36 for the second session, 27, leave it and go back. Make sure you are time conscious. Mark out the time as you are practicing the mock exam. So if time is running out on each question, summarize the key points and don't leave any question unanswered or blank. It's risky. That's why the examiner says attempt 5 questions. So please don't leave any of those 5 questions unattempted. You can just summarize the key points in that rush, but make sure you pen down something to earn you marks, to respect the examiner for attempting what he instructed. This is very important. Number 5, the only way to help these time-saving skills is practice. Practice under time conditions. And that's part of what we are doing. These mock exams is, you should do it under strict time limits. It helps build student speed or candidate speed. Mock exams are very, very good. Please engage. If you didn't engage in these mock exams and you're on the call, please, the next one, we're submitting it on Friday. Please engage. Sit down for 3 hours and do it. You are building up yourself. If you look at a footballer, he trains for a 90 minutes game under strict conditions. They simulate the real football match for them against themselves, as if they are playing against the main tournament. Why are they doing that? Because it helps build their confidence and their speed. So please engage. It's your choice. I won't force you, but then it's an advice. You are encouraged to also review past questions. Yeah, you are in a debrief like this, of course. Review them under real exam timing. Yeah, that's part of what I'm saying to help you with your time-saving techniques. Okay, so final exam strategy. Final exam strategy. Quickly review all your questions. So, number 2, the next 54 minutes, like we spoke about, is for the case study. So the first 5 minutes, you quickly review all the questions, pick out of the 7, the best 5 you have advantage on. Number 2, the next 54 minutes is for the case study. Number 3, the next 72 minutes, that's 36 minutes each, is for question 2 or answer 2 out of the question 2, 3, and 4. So that's what 72 minutes is. So we are wrapping up. And the next 54 minutes is the 27 minutes each for the 15-mark question. And a 5 minutes review to correct any answers or deficiencies, anything you've read that is not correctly communicated or penned down. You use 5 minutes to review and correct the errors. So this allocation will help you as you're doing the mock. It will help you to impact your exams positively. So in conclusion, your exam time management has to do with your strategy. You've strategized based on what I've taught you or I'm presenting to you. Then you have to practice. A strategy without practice is rubbish. You can give somebody a gun, show somebody how to shoot a gun. If he doesn't shoot it or learn how to aim and shoot, he cannot use it. So you can strategize, but without practice, I'm sorry, you will not perfect the skills. So strategy plus practice and discipline yourself to do it culminates in good exam technique or exam time management. So don't forget your strategy. You've known how to allocate the marks, what to do. So please practice and be disciplined. Julie was saying something yesterday that she had to force herself to write it. So that's what discipline is, forcing yourself to do what you don't want to do, but it's necessary. So that's discipline. Forcing yourself to do what is necessary, no matter how you feel or you don't like it. But if you must succeed, you must do it. So that is discipline. Doing the necessary, whether you feel like it or not. So I encourage you to stick to the allocated time per question and focus on precision, speed, and accuracy. I've said that. Keep your answers structured and concise. Practice time mock exams to develop muscle memory. See, your memory under that simulated environment is 3 hours. You are writing. You see, you are already putting that exam tension in your memory. So your muscles are developing and they become strong. How do weight lifters get muscles? You every day go and be carrying the weight. You are under pressure carrying it, but you are developing your muscles. So as you keep doing mock exams, your memory is becoming toughened. You are toughening your memory and developing. Our memories have muscles, and you should keep developing it. You find out on the exam day, why wasn't I under pressure during exam? You have developed and you've left that exam tension, whatever. So please practice this mock exam. I can't overemphasize it. You can set the mock exams yourself. It mustn't be necessarily the one we are doing here. Do it yourself. If you can't cope with our own structure or timing, do it yourself and score yourself. And that will be the end of the time management strategy. I believe you got some value from this. That will be the end. So let's move. If you don't have any questions, let's move to the business of the day proper. I had to bring this first so that as I'm answering the questions, you just be understanding, oh, okay, as we are looking at the points in the debrief question. So any questions, please, before I move to the answers. I also shared the answers on the platform. So you can just open the answers to the mock, and you also see the exam report. So the mock was not set up by me. There are past questions from the actual ICAN examiner. I don't think I'm qualified to set any mock from my brain. Yeah, so we simulate what the examiner has set before so that we can know his pattern and thought of how he sets his question. So all the mocks, you may not know which diet is coming from. I won't tell you the diet, but then they are all from the ICAN past questions. Yeah, so currently we have about 28 editions of them. So there's sufficient bank for me to pick questions from. So any questions, please? I want to move to the proper exam answer. Any questions?
It's more like I saw the guide and everything, but it's another ball game altogether when you're doing it practically. You know, it's, I don't know how one can implement it in the real life situation. Maybe, as you said, practice. It's exactly a good strategy, but is it possible? Is it realistic? Is it possible to do this during the exam? If you're under tension, that pressure, I don't know. But yeah. When be the next mock question you give us? I'll put it to practice.
Exactly. That's why it's good it's coming in. It may look strange now, but like you said, if you practice with it and it works, though there are no hard and fast rules, but this is the best recommended way to approach it. So if you do any fine-tuning or rejigging of the strategy, do that. Just make sure, do what works for you. This is highly recommended based on the time. It may not look realistic for you. Different people have their ability of assimilating and simulating situations. So, but this is highly recommended, and for me, it works for me. So do what works for you anyway. The ultimate goal is to pass the exams. That is it. So if you're not using this strategy, just make sure you're passing the exams. Whatever strategy you use, make sure it gets you through the exams. And I think this will work. So like you said, in the next exam, mock exam, try it 3 hours, allocate the marks and see. If you don't meet up, maybe you can do another 3 hours and communicate your thoughts on paper and see how it works for you. Thank you for that feedback. Okay, so any other comment? Any other? All right. In the absence of any comment, let me share my screen and go to the answers. You already have the answers, so you can just look through the group and you go through the answers and let's speak to them. Let's speak to them. All right. So question 1 is on the screen, is on PDF, is not on PowerPoint. So the fonts may be a bit smaller, but then I'll just try to zoom it so that we can see. Most of us are using our phone, so the slides are better on our phone. They are more, they are larger, the fonts are larger. So the first page you can see on the screen, the question 1 is a good question. I love it. It's a practical case study. It tests application of knowledge. It tests application of knowledge. So if you look at the examiner's report, you see that the examiner was complaining about the same thing. I've put the examiner's report on the screen. The examiner report highlights a common issue. Students often struggle with why and how of a situation. So look at the examiner's report, you read it. Students struggle with why and how of a situation. They focus more on listing symptoms rather than analyzing the underlying causes. What is the root cause? And this is very crucial for AAA. Very, very crucial. So you need to identify not just the symptoms, but what is the cause of that problem. So specifically, you notice from the question, you see that the first line said, what made the company, or how did the company find itself in this predicament? Take note of the word predicament. So you need to think critically about the chain of events that led to Samaila and Co's problem. You need to think critically. The predicament. It's not just that they lost clients. You can't say they lost clients. Why did they lost the clients? Is it adverse publicity due to errors, lack of investment in equipment leading to errors? So you need to emphasize the root cause analysis. This is very important. Root cause analysis. You need to emphasize that. The B part you need to look at is clearly articulate why the various factors point to a going concern issue. So number B part now is talking about going concern, but you need to show why. So for example, losing major customer and sales is a symptom, an aftermath of something that has happened. But the issue or the reason why they lost those major customers and sales is the doubt about the company's ability to continue operating and generating revenue. So that's the underlying issue. So when you're communicating your thoughts, this matter, this is very important, why and how. So please take note of that. Losing major customers is the aftermath, is a symptom. But the main issue is the doubt about the company's ability to continue operating and generating revenue. That is the cause. That is the cause. Number 3, you see that, or see the C part, the mitigating factors. What are the mitigating factors? Focus on realistic and practical solutions. If you say they need to increase sales, that's too general. Like when I'm teaching case study, I'll tell you that your recommendation should be SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. It means that you need to be realistic and provide practical situation. Like for example, developing a target marketing campaign, focusing on quality assurance and regaining client trust is better. You can't just say increase sales. They should try and increase their sales. That's too general. It's vague. So if you say develop a target marketing campaign, for example, focusing on quality assurance and regaining client trust, that's better. It's quantifiable. Also quantify where possible. Make it quantifiable where possible. For example, they should secure a line of credit for 200 million to help boost operations and rejig the financial system. So practical, smart solutions or communication of thoughts is essential, especially looking at the C aspect. This is very, very important. Okay, so let's look at the D aspect of the question. So many candidates struggle with this negative assurance. It needs to be explained by contrasting positive assurance. So negative assurance, you cannot explain it, or you may not be able to communicate it well if you don't know what positive assurance means. Positive assurance says we have updated, or for example says we have obtained sufficient evidence and believe that we have obtained sufficient evidence and believe the financial statements are fairly presented. That is a positive assurance statement. But a negative assurance says we have performed limited procedures, so limited, and nothing has come to our attention to suggest the financial statements are materially misstated. So emphasize the level of work performed and the time or the type of conclusion given. That's what this question points to. It's very, very important. So in knowing how to communicate or answer this, you should be able to know what positive assurance is. And we've looked at that in the chapter 1 of our first module. So these examples are very important in answering question 1. So take note of that. The predicament, which is the A part. What is the predicament? How did they find themselves in that situation? That is the first part, A. B, you're talking about the going concern issue. Talk about the why. And C, the mitigating factors. Talk about what they could do, realistic and practical solutions. Then D, your explanation of positive, negative assurance, communicating your thoughts. Well, so those are the 4 parts of the question. And you can see how succinct and precise the answers is. No story. You can see the numberings, headers and subheaders with proper numberings, and the marks will be picked. So please read the examiner's report fully. And my communication or my summary of the examiner's report has stated what are the pitfalls for candidates. And from the little bird's view of the mock I've looked at, we wrote, some of us still had this little challenge. So please take note of that. And it's good for the mock. So for question 1, do we have any questions? I want to move to question 2. Any questions?
No.
Okay. Fantastic. We got that. So number 2 is a question on IT audit and statutory audit. IT audit versus statutory audit. That's what question 2 is all about. So the question is important given the increasing role of IT in auditing these days. If you look at the examiner's report, it indicates weakness in understanding the core concepts of IT and statutory audit, and also their distinctions. So if you look at the examiner's report, let me go there. You can see the examiner's report on the screen. You'll see that candidates, based on his report, need to understand the fundamental difference. Statutory audit focuses on financial statement and their compliance with standards. Simple. Statutory audit, let me go back to the... So statutory audit, in summary, focuses on financial statements and their compliance with accounting standards. So those keywords, financial statements, compliance with accounting standard, needs to come in as you are writing. So as you are making up the flesh or the body of your answers, those key phrases and words need to be identified. Also, IT audit focuses on the IT systems and controls that produces financial statements. So you have softwares, you have accounting packages. So IT drives them. Why? To produce financial statements. But statutory audits focus on the financial statements and their compliance with standard. So don't mix them together. You need to understand how this works. Very important. Also, you see the second part of the question, the objectives. The objectives, similarities, and differences. So it's a triple, it's not a double-barrel question. Let me call it a triple-barreled question. You need to identify and communicate the objectives, similarities, and differences. So you can just create a table summarizing these points. This will help organize your thoughts and remember the key distinctions between the objectives, the similarities, and differences. I noticed some candidate did tables, which is very good. I like that. Some people created tables, and some people just wrote the points. You may have the points, but the facts, you're not presenting it neatly. So a table will help summarizing 3 of them differently in a table. It's good to do that, especially where you ask the objectives, similarities, differences, or advantages, merits, demerits. Put it in a table so that you can communicate effectively. You can also put them in a straight line, but but the table would do. Like the examiner put, you see the similarities is straight, but I would prefer a table anyway. Yeah, so like the differences you can see between information technology and statutory audit is in a table. So you can do that, but make sure it is neat. This is very, very important. Okay, so that's my thoughts on question 2. Do we have any questions? So we'll run to question 3. What's the time? Okay, we have 3 minutes to the break. We have 3 minutes to go on break. Okay, you're welcome, Aisha. I can see you. So do we have any question so far for question 2? Is that okay?
It's okay, sir.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so we have 3 minutes to break. So can we take our eyes off the screen? And we'll come back in the next 10 minutes. So can we come back by 9:10? Let's take 30 minutes to, maybe you want to take a nap.
There's a question, sir. You know, when you send the question, you did not state whether we should answer all questions or answer 2 or 3.
Yes, so okay.
I was trying to look for it because you didn't say anything like that.
Okay, so let me go back to the question now and look at the instruction. So question 1 says, if you can see my screen, answer question 1, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Question 2, 3, let me look. Question 4, 5, 6, bonus question. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't communicate effectively. So
I was looking for it.
Yeah, so you're supposed to answer the 6. It's a mock exam, so I know in the actual exam you answer 5 years, but you're supposed to answer the 6. Sorry about that. So in the next mock, I'll communicate in the main instruction. So you're supposed to answer the 6 fully, yes. So maybe where we have 7, you answer the 7 so
because the exam was quite exhausting, my goodness. It was exhausting.
I understand.
It was so exhausting. Okay.
I understand.
My goodness.
I understand. Don't worry, the mock will expose you. If you're exhausted in the mock, then it shows that you are developing your memory muscle.
Even the last exam, it was so exhausting. I said, my goodness, what is this guy?
Audit is like that. Audit is very tricky. It's like that. But don't worry, with these mock exams, you'll be able to develop your memory muscle, and with the mocks, you identify the techniques exactly. So for the 6 questions, the next exam should be 6 questions too. So please answer all. Or mark it answer all. That's what it means. Yes, I'll put the question, I'll put the instruction very clearly. Apologies about that. And thank you for bringing it to my attention. Yeah. So let's go on the quick break. We'll come back in 10 minutes. We'll continue with question 3.